it's good to see everybody. Originally, we had talked about the history of naturopathy as the topic, and then life happened, and a hurricane showed up. I don't know where everyone stands on this, and again, I appreciate Dr. Howard saying that I know truth, and what I'm realizing is that I can't believe everything I think, and I better understand why I think the way I do. So question everything, right? I'm giving information from either first-hand accounts or very reputable sources. I'm not going to say
So Nicole, you're breaking up just a little bit. Hold on a second. Okay, maybe, yep, there you go. Maybe the phone needs to be a little perfect, a little closer, sounds good.
Okay. Does the practical prove the naturopathy? Because if we look at the history of naturopathy, it has been convoluted and destroyed on purpose. But again, what has prevailed? Naturopathy. So, even though we learn these things and we look at it, the reason we do this is so that we can shine the light in the darkness and the darkness flees. Okay, that's my spiel. Oh, we also have solutions. Solutions abound, even if you don't know what they are yet. They abound. So, again, this is not to promote fear at all. One of the things I wanted to say is, in my research, I found it very interesting how many people use the term alternative medicine for naturopathy. Just raise your hand.
Okay, I'm gonna show her to all of you. Here you go, raise your hands.
Okay, so stop it. So, the reason being is that if you don't know about the Flexner report, you'll want to look at that. And this goes into the history of naturopathy. The AMA joined up with the Carnegie and the Rockefellers, and they wanted to promote petrochemicals and pharmaceuticals. And in that agenda was, again, to change the meaning of something, and they came up with the term alternative medicine. So, no, it's original, it's traditional, it's the best, it's most effective, and it's used by the most people in the world. So, it's not alternative to anything, except for the evil agenda. Woo! Okay, so, that being said, now we're going to go into why the hurricane matters. Because history, remember the saying, history repeats itself.
Yes, yes.
Right? Okay, we've all heard that. Well, we need to make sure that stops, because the history that we're getting is one of destruction. And so the history that repeats is lies, trauma, propaganda, control, enslavement, and over and over and over again.
Dr. Paquin, you know what? So many of us are writing this down. Can you do that one more time for us?
Okay. I think I can. So, history repeats, but usually it repeats in the way of trauma, an agenda, propaganda, control, enslavement, and repeats. So it can be in a little different order. It might start out as propaganda and then move into a traumatic event and then go into mind control. Or it might start with mind control and then propaganda and then trauma and then enslavement. But those are the basic patterns with history when we talk about history repeating itself. Okay? So we need to step outside of that. Look back at Kathy O'Brien did a great job of saying, write down, in cursive preferably, what's going on. Journal. Don't just talk about it, right? Write it physically down. It transfers that to your area and that event into an area of your brain where then you find solutions.
Dr. Paquin, so you were very specific about cursive because that engages both sides of the brain, is my understanding.
Absolutely it does.
And haven't they done away with cursive in the elementary?
They're not teaching it anymore. Nope. So you need to look back at, okay, why do we need this integration, right? Why do we need the heart integrated with the brain? The heart is not a pump. It's a vortex. And it creates this amazing plasma in your blood, the fourth stage of water. But they're teaching people that it's just a pump. It's not true. Okay? So, if you look at, here's some of the anomalies. That's if it matters. Here's some of the anomalies that happen with Most people do. My dad called me if there's going to be some rain. I didn't hear from him. When I finally got cell phone and power back 4 days later, I said, no heads up. He said there wasn't any reason to call. We didn't think it would be anything. People who've lived here their whole life said nothing like this has ever happened. We were given no warning anywhere. Hurricanes don't happen here. Nobody has flood insurance, so guess what? No compensation for flood. Okay, so you can start to see it. The other thing, one of my friends is a nurse. She was in the operating room on the second floor, and rain's pouring through, debris falling in. They have people on the operating table. They come in and say, you need to close it back up and wake them up if you haven't started. Try to finish if you have. She's on the second floor of a 6th floor building, and water is pouring through. Generators are going out. Things aren't working. 3 days after the storm, it's still just regular guys in trucks with chainsaws. Nobody around. We had friends move in with us. They didn't have power for 10 days. Some people didn't have water. Cars were trapped. No gas was coming. People were following tankers to try to get to gas stations. As soon as you went to the hospital, they were sending you to gymnasiums with your medicine because they didn't have generators, weren't working, they couldn't get gas for generators. It was crazy. I've talked to more people who've lived here generationally who have said this has never happened. We don't have this. This doesn't happen. So again, geoengineering, whatever we want to say, you have to critically think about something. Whether it's a pandemic or whatever fear mode. Oh, that's the other thing, fear. And fear go in with that history thing too. But you have to critically think, because it's not an intelligence test. We got lots of intelligent people, but nobody can critically think anymore. Also, when you go into fear, you stop actually using your brain, right? You just go into that. So that was weird. People were dropping their family members off at the ER with a note because they didn't have power, food, water, couldn't take care of them. They would, when people were just driving around, this is a first-hand account of somebody in it, that the National Guard was told to stand down, especially in North Carolina. They were told, you drive through and be seen, but you don't actually help.
The person from the National Guard was told that, was telling you that.
There was reporters, yes.
Their orders were to drive through, be seen, so they didn't show up until 4 days in, then they were supposed to drive around for 3 days? Do that again.
They showed up, I think, within a day or two.
Okay.
But they were to be seen and not actually help.
Wow.
So that's completely rumor. I think, you know, you have this whole gun thing, right?
Keep your phone close to you.
Okay, so but people want them to know, I have this thing in my phone, right? This thing. Can you hear me if I do this?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, so that's the first hand, and they were going, why? What do you mean? Because people want to help, that's their nature of it, but they were told that orders from above to stand it down. From through, don't actually help. That started. So that was kind of crazy. We've been areas where we were delivering meals, churches opened up, and we're delivering food. These people weren't getting help at all. I saw FEMA step up in a parking lot at the wall, and it was mostly power guys that were coming in from other states to help. But people weren't getting supplies. They don't know why. They supposedly were there.
Dr. Paquin, one of the things that you and I had spoke about was FEMA was set up, but people couldn't get to FEMA either because the roads were blocked. Or there was a town 30 miles away that needed all the supplies, hadn't eaten in days and had issues, but there was no gas in their town to get to the FEMA.
Or their cars were buried under trees.
Yeah.
I mean, you still drive around here and the amount of debris, it smells like a Christmas tree farm because it was the pines that were hit the hardest. Now we know all the stuff that goes naturopathically with pine too, right? But lots of pine, I mean, just 5-6 foot trees, crazy. So Then I had a friend of mine went to the Asheville area to help last week, and she came back within 24 hours was deathly ill. I will say she's an ER nurse, so she knows sickness. She couldn't get out of bed for 4 days. She didn't know what was wrong with her. Now we're finding through different things that people are getting extremely ill. In eastern Tennessee, the guys' boots are getting eaten through by the toxic mud.
Dr. Paquin, I also understood that one man had 10 search and rescue dogs, and 4 of them are dead, and the other 6 are violently ill, and they're all being poisoned by something that they can't figure out, and they've all been sifting through the mud. And the horses have the same situation.
Right. So if you have something that's eating through the boots of people, so on the ground, so that, what we're finding is that, I'm just going through my, oh, wait, the other thing you have to be aware of too, I don't like to talk about this, this gets my soul going, but while they were there, they had these huge parking lots, and they have these semi-trucks, and that's where they put water, food, medicine, diapers, clothes, you name it. I mean, people lost everything. And you have to be 14 to volunteer. And my friend's daughters were with her, and they said, don't let them out of your sight, because we've got child traffickers coming in and grabbing kids all over the place. It's a huge thing. You've got children walking around, can't find their parents. There's a couple big orphanages in Tennessee and in the North Carolina area, unaccounted for, don't know where these kids are going. So they were like, just don't let your kids even go to the porta potty by yourself. That's what they were directed by the volunteers.
Wow.
Horrific. Yeah. So what we're finding, especially in Tennessee, is that there was, let me get my notes so I have it. There were some plants in Tennessee. One of them is called the Nuclear Fuel Service. They provide nuclear fuel for the Navy. Well, a big portion of it. So, one of their semi-trailers was found buried 10 feet underneath mud. Okay? It had, let me make sure I have my notes correct. It had live nuclear fuel rods on it. Okay? So, not just a few of them. It had 250 55-gallon live barrels of nuclear fuel rods. And a 10,000 square foot decontamination area of that plant was washed away in the floods. Okay, why this matters to all of us is because the Broad French River and the, I never say it right, Nolechucky River Gorge feed into the water supply. So we're going to want to talk about solutions at some point for radiation, right?
Okay,
So
2 second pause. We already have those, that information available. We're using rubidium, and we are using iodine as the primaries, and then we're using boron. So boron, iodine, and rubidium.
And Callie, iodine homeopathic?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
And so now people are going to be directed, not again by anything official, right? We're just saying that people are starting to learn this, that they're going to have to Geiger count their, is that how you say it, right?
Yes.
Geiger count their water, right? So you've got that going on. Not only in that same area, but there's a plastics company, a polyvinyl company, and then another plant all within this area that got washed out.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, Children's Health Defense just issued a study from Germany that said people living in water sources near plants are at a higher risk of toxicity.
Absolutely.
I mean, no surprise there, but how are we doing on time? Do you need me to wrap up?
No, my goodness, let's keep rolling.
Okay, so you've got the radioactive material. But now they said, okay, now you're also going to have the Navy impacted by it from a defensive standpoint.
Absolutely.
Interesting enough, right? So then the other thing is, there is a very large lithium mine in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes, talk about that.
Now you also have to understand, kind of think Maui fires. Right? So again, we're going to start to see the pattern of history. So Maui fires burned in Lahaina, and it was sacred ground, and it was generational families, and it was people who knew their land, who knew how to own their land, right? And now they're destroyed. It can't be a coincidence.
And Dr. Paquin, those 2,000 children are still missing from there?
In Hawaii?
Yes.
Yeah, see, and this is the other thing is that a lot of people said they were reporting that the body count, right, after the hurricane was not very much, but because they delayed and because they couldn't get to these areas, it's just going up and up and up. One lady said a couple of counties, they donated 10,000 body bags and they're requesting more. Okay, so you're probably not going to get an accurate, again, don't believe everything you think and see where you're getting the information from. Because the media is part of the mirage.
Yes.
I'm just going to call it a mirage, right? So that's, and also there, and this is the other thing too, one of us said, we really need to ask, so again, nobody had preparation. Nobody was told like, hey, we're going to be hit by a hurricane, right? And actually, one of Asheville's selling points, now I was in Asheville 2 years ago and it used to be a very pretty place. Okay, it was not so pretty. A man like dropped his shorts and pooped on the sidewalk in front of me. Like that tells you. Just anyway.
So you're saying, wait. Oh, we got to get the poop the pants thing going on here.
Pulled his pants down and pooped on the sidewalk. I think that's like Asheville used to be a really cool hip. You would go there, you would have fun. I went during the pandemic and about got kicked out of every place I was at. They were horrid. And then we went back afterwards and homeless everywhere. It was dirty as all get out, and that's when, like, it brought daylight. And I will tell you, there are public restrooms around.
So this is all prior to the hurricane?
Yeah, I was saying, interesting that Asheville once was thriving, beautiful, and then policies are in place, right? Also interesting, how many people know about the Biltmore Estates?
Yes, quite a few are saying yes.
Yeah, okay. So the Biltmore Estates, the Vanderbilt family, Anderson Cooper.
Yes.
Right?
We're with
They've
you.
got a lot of weird stuff going on. The Biltmore Estates family, that was really good. Now it's all intact still. The village and some of the other things are what was destroyed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So no flood insurance because it was not a flooded area. Oh, one of Asheville's selling points, and I say this with all like mockery of climate people, right? Was that wasn't very kind. I'm sorry, I take that back. I'm not saying it in mockery. One of the selling points of Asheville was that it did not have terrible climate weather. It was not affected by climate change, and it was very stable. It didn't get tropical storms, it didn't get hurricanes, it didn't flood, so it was this place that was supposed to be, and it was sold as that, right? So a lot of these climate activists are even more panicked now because an area that they were told was safe is not safe. So you can see how the fear gets ramped up, right? And interesting, and this is where people are saying we need to ask, why were 3 dams in the North Carolina area, why were the floodgates opened, intentionally opened during that hurricane? We need to start asking these questions, right? And people on the ground have reported that they had 40-foot walls of water, like tsunamis, right? So then you can go into the lithium mines. They need the land in the Appalachian Mountains to get the lithium for the car batteries. And if you've discovered and researched anything about this whole electrical movement, the lithium batteries are about as toxic and dangerous to the environment as you can get. So do you start to see how, I don't want to swear, do you start to see how messed up it is to say, oh, I'm going to have green energy. So again, the words, no, that's not. That's not. Why are you thinking that electric cars are? Like, research it, critically think, ask the questions, stop being told, because what you're being told is a bunch of baloney. A lies, let's just call it what it is. Okay? And it's part of the mind control. So there's a lot of politicians invested in this lithium plant. They signed contracts to start this plant in 2024 to 2025, operational by 2030. You've got a presidential candidate spouse heavily invested in this. Okay? You've got BlackRock, who is looking at Maui as his next gold mine. And then you have this stuff here. So these are the land grabs that are going on. Because if somebody knows how to protect their land, they're not going to give it up easily. And so that's when you resort to the next thing, which is murder. You take them out, right? And so you can see how this goes.
2 minutes, Nicole. Just sum us up. You're doing great.
This was an interesting tidbit for you, Shane, okay?
Got it.
So if somebody said, what are the chances? You say none. That's so totally what it's supposed to be. So I'm talking to my mom, God bless her, right? And she says, you'll never believe at my PEO meeting, we had an engineer at NASA talking, and she was fascinating. And she came from a little Mason County school system. I said, oh, that's really interesting. Now, Kathy O'Brien, right? The whole Mason County, the whole Scottville, Free Soil, Ludington, Muskegon, that whole area. Well, in that same area, also, another brilliant woman came from there. She's head of FEMA.
Wow.
What are the chances now? What are the chances that a third lady is there and she's head of Blue Cross Blue Shield? I mean, that school system's amazing to pump out 3 ladies like that. That's when I went, oh, that's a harvesting operation. Right? So, Rhodes Scholar, we've all heard of the Rhodes Scholar, that Cecil Rhodes, pedophile, raped the land. He set up the Rhodes Scholars. It's a harvesting system. Question everything. Okay? So, anyway, how does that, oh, yeah, exploitation, trauma, manipulation, fear, control, no more. You're stepping out of it. We have to step out of that because we don't want to be part of the repeat. No longer. I'm going to say, no, I'm not buying that. I'm calling it what it is, or I'm at least saying, that's not what it is. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm done with the lies. We have to step out of that. Empower yourselves and say, nope, no more. Oh, the other thing is, do you remember how bells used to be all around? Bells. Church bells. People had bells on their homes. Guess what? They can see that singing and bells actually break up storms.
Wow.
They're gone now. They've taken them out everywhere. Solutions abound. Look at what was and bring it back in.
Excellent.
Right? So solutions abound. No fear. You empower, you warriors, you go out, you call people's stuff, and you say, nope, not buying that. And it took a lot for me not to do that foster.
Okay, we love it.
I wish I was there.
We love and appreciate you so much. You are our warrior. You lead all of our warrior classes, and we just hope the best for your family, for all the states around you. Keep volunteering down at the church. Keep feeding people. Let us know specifically what we can do, and let's ring some bells and sing down there for you folks. Okay?
Frequency of that water. You make sure the water that's coming from you is healthy, pure, energized, and keep going. Pray over the water. Get those warrior words out and pray, 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 pray. Change the energy of it because we know Morimoto's like we know it can be done. So no fear.
All right, thank you,
Okay,
beautiful.
guys.
Love you too.
Okay.